Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our March 3rd meeting. We are going to get started. We always start our meeting with a moment of silence, and in that moment of silence, before it happens, I always ask everyone to silence their phones. So please do that now. Make sure that your phone is not going to make any unnecessary noises during the course of our business. I very much appreciate it. And now, if you'll join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And now, if you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Escobar, announcements.
Good evening. Street resurfacing continues. If you see signage in your area, work will start the following week and last about 1 week. The signage states no parking is allowed on the street during that time. Updates can be found online on our website at this specific address, but you can always search our website in the search bar for street resurfacing and it'll pull up the projects. We wanted to highlight the intersection of McCoy Road and Hambright Road. The contractor has shared that resurfacing work will begin this Thursday and Friday, and there will be one lane open at a time. This will cause traffic delays during operations, so please plan for extra travel time and follow flaggers or signage that is out there. And thank you for your patience as this important work gets underway. The Spring Car and Truck Show. Start your engines and help us rev up for a great spring season by showing us as we host our annual Ready, Set, Show Spring Car and Truck Show. Cars, trucks, and bikes will be parked along Main Street at Veterans Park and be ready for public viewing and voting on Saturday, March 14th, 2026 from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. There is a deadline to apply, which is March 9th. Registration is required for all vehicles participating, and the application is available also on our website at this address, which is huntersville.org/1282/car-and-truck-shows. It's important for people at home who are listening. Donuts with Duck and Bunny. Hop on over to Veterans Park in downtown Huntersville for Donuts with Duck and Bunny on Saturday, March 21st. Enjoy delicious donuts, buy your mom's donuts and a craft while you wait for your Duck and Bunny photo. Pre-registration with a fee of $10 per family is required. There are 3 reservation times to choose from, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or 11 o'clock. Space is limited, so we encourage you to reserve your space soon, and reservations are open at this address on our website. And then Huntersville Police Department, we just wanted to share some of the public events that they have coming up this month. On Monday, March 16th, there will be Coffee with a Cop at Target at 10:30 to 12 o'clock. On Friday, March 20th, they will have an American Red Cross blood drive at Huntersville Police Department Training Room from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then on Saturday, March 28th, there is the annual Touch a Truck event at Lake Forest Church from 3:30 to 5 o'clock.
We have a couple proclamations this month. The first is for Women's History Month. Whereas Women's History Month is a dedicated month to reflect on the often overlooked contributions of women to United States history. From Abigail Adams to Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth to Rosa Parks, the timeline of women's history milestones stretches back to the founding of the United States. And whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, and whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere in the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home, And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force to the nation, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements which create a fair and just society for all. Now, therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim March as Women's History Month in Huntersville, North Carolina. And the second is a proclamation for Endometriosis Awareness Month. Whereas endometriosis is a complex hormonal and immune chronic disease causing multiple symptoms, including pain, which disrupt the lives of an estimated 89 million women and girls worldwide. And whereas there is no cure for endometriosis and treatments are often problematic, and whereas lack of knowledge of the disease combined with the stigma causes an average delay of 10 years from onset of symptoms to diagnosis, and whereas women, girls with endometriosis and their families have been shown to be at a greater risk for 12 cancers, 7 autoimmune diseases, allergic diseases, and heart disease, and whereas the Endometriosis Association is a nonprofit charity founded in 1980 providing support for families affected by endometriosis, education about the disease, and research on the disease, and whereas Endometriosis Association began March Endometriosis Awareness Month in 1993 and has seen to develop into a worldwide observance. Now, therefore, I, Christy Clark, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim that March as Endometriosis Awareness Month in Huntersville, North Carolina. We have a couple public comments this evening. We'll start with Deanna Glenn. You have 3 minutes. And just state your name for the record.
My name's Deanna Glenn, and I am Miss Huntersville All-American. I'm going to be representing Huntersville in a national pageant this summer, so I'm really excited to be able to share that with you and just be in the same space with you. For support, I am selling butter braids, and so with the butter braids, that is a frozen pastry with delicious filling on the inside. There's sweet and also savory. So there's like apple filling, and then there's like a garlic, herb, and cheese filling as well, and also dog treats. Yeah, I know it sounds a little silly, but I am really excited to just be representing Huntersville, this beautiful town, on a national stage. And if anyone is interested in supporting me, my email is deannamusicforlife. I am a musician. I work as an elementary school music teacher, and I also work at School of Rock in Cornelius. And so it's Deanna, D-E-A-N-N-A, music, the number 4, life @gmail.com, and I would love to be able to connect with everyone. And speaking of connection, my platform is Disconnect to Connect, and it's encouraging people to get off social media, connect in real life, make eye contact, and most importantly, be able to write letters and create a memorable experience. So thank you for your time. Yes. Oh, my email is Deanna, D-E-A-N-N-A, music, just regular music, for the number 4, life @gmail.com. And I would love to, if you reached out. Yes. So
Thank you so much, and congratulations.
thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Amy Hallman, you have 6 minutes. I see Lee is here.
Amy Hallman. I live in Huntersville. Can you hear me? Sorry. First, I did not receive any written communication about the hearing later today. We can all agree that Jay and Brian do good projects. They take some steps to go above and beyond, but we aren't here about a project. The application for a general rezoning is more than giving our planning board chair and developer what he's requesting. This is about your control of what properly goes in our downtown. A piece of paper with a few paragraphs that go with this application are to remind you that the applicant has spent a lot of money on that property and even had it declared historic. Actually, they had parts of the house declared historic. Please find out what the other parts are, and it's not the same as having an entire property declared historic. Another thing to understand about historic declaration is that an owner perhaps years from now can have the designation removed and then in a year do whatever they want. Please don't give up that control. A year ago, after months of work, I gave you a 9-minute solid argument about why a downtown general rezoning is not a good idea. At one point or another, all but one of you agreed with me that giving up that control was not a great idea in downtown. I've been publicly and invariably grateful to Commissioner Quarles, Commissioner Rivers, and former Commissioner Dumas for seeing that through. But because we love Jay and respect his and Brian's work, we may feel this is different. I get that, but it is not different. Granting the general rezoning puts no conditions on what can go there. It doesn't allow for the buffers, fencing, business hours, light and noise trespass that residents deserve. And while Jay may continue to run an engineering business for now, he has said that he hopes that there will be a restaurant there one day. And then what? This is beyond the restaurant. Then what? Your decision-making is not to be short-sighted. It must be long-term. And you know that this decision has lifetime consequences. 106, 115, 117. Last year, some board members said they didn't want to hold up one of the small businesses for an entire year by saying no. Here we are a year later. If you had to do it all over again, would you do it exactly the same way? The downtown puzzle can't be looked at as individual pieces and only current property owners. If you sincerely plan to put a fire station 1 across the street from that property, it's time to be vocal about that. Granting a general rezoning automatically gives the applicant more perceived property value, of its current conditions simply because of the general rezoning. It becomes more marketable. I cautioned you about this with 106, 115, and 117. We must have conditions. Staff's original argument that site plans are too expensive is moot. This applicant's entire business is creating those site plans. And again, site plans for conditional rezoning is Huntersville, not a county, not a state requirement. You can remove that too. I would really be interested in knowing why the applicants are doing this now, but with the general rezoning, I don't get to know. And if you do know, you can't hold them to it. You have the ability to say no. You have developers clamoring with plans for Huntersville, and that's really exciting. But this one has no plans. Make the next project and the next owner go for a conditional rezoning. Please. I can't support it because I don't even know what it is. And if I did, I have no guarantee of its permanent conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Buck, or Bulk, not sure. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. Michael Buck. I'll make this really quick. 23 years old. I live in Birkdale Commons, across the street from the village. I just came here today because I want to talk really quickly about the public safety issue around Birkdale. I want to first off give you guys a lot of praise because I've been going to the village back and forth. You guys have put a lot of police in that area, which is admirable because one of the biggest issues I think was when the Christmas party was happening and then that shooting happened. I believe it was in Davidson. Then the Christmas party with our town happened. There was police there, and now there's a lot more police happening now, especially after the incident, I believe in January. But I came here to ask that you guys be a little bit more proactive, not just for the village, but also for Birkdale Commons, which is where I live. There's still a lot of issues that go on around the surrounding suburban areas. And I just wanted to make sure my voice was heard and make sure that the people that live in my residential area, my neighbors, that there's still more safety measures that still need to be in place, not just for the village. I know it's popular and stuff, but also for the suburban areas. So thank you guys for a lot of the work that you've done. I just wanted to come out here and ask that there be more to be done. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. That is the end of our public comments. I did want to let Rob Code, who signed up for item 9B, that we had a request for a deferral for that one. So if you want to head home now, you can, or you can stay for the rest of the meeting, but 9B will not be on our agenda later. Just want to make sure you knew that before we got to that. Now, may I have a request for the adoption, or may I have an adoption of the agenda motion, please?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the adoption of the agenda and agenda item changes.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. And now may I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt the consent agenda?
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We're on to item 9A, conduct a public hearing on petition R25-17.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Oops, there we go. I'd like to put my staff report in the record for R25-17 Glendale Drive subdivision. This is a conditional rezoning request from general residential to neighborhood residential conditional district. It is roughly a 1 acre parcel to the west and south of Vermilion Village and the Vermilion subdivision, with some more residential to the east, roughly about half a mile from downtown Huntersville, where we are right now. Some of the highlights: it is a 4-lot minor subdivision, and it is a conditional rezoning, but no modifications are requested. That is not something typical that you would find with a conditional rezoning. Part of that is that this is currently zoned general residential, which has a larger minimum lot size requirement and is not intended for development. It is typical that a lot of the older Mecklenburg County approved subdivisions or lots will be zoned general residential. Part of our zoning ordinance encourages rezoning to different zoning districts as a part of that. While it is, no modifications are being requested. It is still conditional, so essentially what you see is what you get. What the site plan will be presented as is what they will be allowed to construct. This is a minor subdivision, so it has some less requirements than what be a major subdivision. So no infrastructure is being put in. It's using existing public right-of-way. There's no stormwater being put in. There's no open space being put in. That's largely due to it being under 1 acre. There's a lot of triggers that they are exempt from as long as they're staying under 1 acre of disturbance. But they do still have tree save, heritage tree save, specimen tree save, and canopy tree save. So they have no heritage trees on site. They do have 7 specimen trees on site, which they're saving 1. They have the intention to save an additional 4, but they're only saving 1, which is the minimum requirement. They are exceeding the canopy tree save requirement. Canopy tree save is 10% as the minimum. The latest iteration that staff has been able to see, they're saving roughly 18% of that tree canopy. Some of the issues or concerns that staff still has, one of the first ones is the driveway location for the single-family homes, in particular Lot 3 and Lot 4. This was a concern expressed during the neighborhood meeting that then planning and engineering staff was able to discuss. come up with a best practice solution. We're looking to push that driveway as far away from that Glendale Drive, Huntersville Concord intersection as possible. Staff's recommendation at this point is to combine that driveway, so Lot 3 and Lot 4 are sharing that driveway. We're still in discussions with the applicant about how that would work, so that hasn't been quite resolved yet. We also are requesting elevations for the proposed homes. In the state of North Carolina, municipalities are not allowed to regulate architecture for single-family homes. Like I had previously mentioned, though, this is a conditional rezoning, so we are allowed to make recommendations above and beyond the minimum standards. This is one of those recommendations. We've got certain architectural principles in our zoning ordinance and then a design guidebook that we would lean on heavily for these recommendations. Things like giving better frontage, so things like front porches, extending that front out, recessing the garage. All of it's to put the pedestrian first, make it more friendly to the pedestrian, put the automobile second. Third issue that we're working through is the right-of-way dedication along Huntersville Concord. There is a planned project, but then also potential projects along Huntersville Concord that's still being addressed or still being worked on by staff, so we're still working with the applicant to figure out what that dedication or reservation would look like. The 2040 plan has several land use policies and one environmental policy that this can support. We're using the future land use map with this. We're looking at more intensification within that town core area. The town core encourages a mix of housing types, so apartments, townhomes, single-family homes, different lot sizes. This would fit within that. This is the area of town that we would encourage intensification, closer to I-77, closer to 115, and we're also developing where there's already infrastructure in place, so no new public roads would have to be put in, which the town would then have to accept. They're also saving more tree canopy than minimum, so that we're, helping keep some tree canopy within more urban environments while still having the density there. One of the opportunities that we're still looking for is those elevations. At this stage in the project, the applicant's probably not going to fully engage a builder at this point. Frankly, it's just not financially what you would do at this point. You're trying to figure out what's going on. So we're going to continue working with the applicant to figure out how we can get those elevations to be up to our recommendations. At this point, planning staff is recommending approval of this as it is within the character area recommendations of the 2040 plan. So the land use works. We do have several conditions, though, that we would like to be met. Those are the shared driveway, the elevated designs with the elevations of the single-family homes, and then that right-of-way along Huntersville Concord. As these are being worked through, if we're unable to find some sort of agreement with the applicant for this, that could shift a recommendation down the line to one of denial at this point. But at this point, we are recommending approval with these conditions. That concludes staff's presentation. I know the applicant has a presentation, so we can stop if there's any questions, or we can just move on to the applicants.
Any questions for staff?
I can't remember if you touched on it or not, but what was the town staff's recommended elevations for the property? Did you?
Yeah, so we don't have an exact elevation. Part of it is in North Carolina in a by right situation. So if we're not up here right now, if they just came in, got a permit from us, we wouldn't be able to say anything about their architectural material or any of their elevations. We're allowed to regulate height, bulk, orientation, stuff like that. We have a design guidebook that we worked with a consulting firm to make. These have recommendations such as like getting a front porch, having some type of facade articulation on the front, recessing the garage if it's front loaded, maybe doing a side-loaded option, detached garage, something that's going to really emphasize the architecture on the front rather than just a front-loaded garage on the front. So that's the main thing that we're looking for, but, you know, architecture is a little bit subjective, but we do have some design recommendations in there.
And I see, I guess if we could go forward, I guess, with the shared, utilize a shared driveway for lots 3 and 4. Why is that recommended? Is that due to spacing or?
It's due to the distance from the Huntersville, Concord, Glendale intersection. If you're driving along there, typically you're going to want to have your driveways as far back from intersections as possible when people are coming around, if someone's backing out for safety, yeah.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, applicant would like to present.
Yeah, I'm Drew Bowman.
Nate Bowman, 205 South Church Street. You're 207, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're next door. We've already looked at this site plan. Let's go to the next slide so we can just show you the existing house. This is a side view. Keep going. It's the other side, the backyard, another one of the backyard. One of our supporters is Bobby Presley. I don't think he could be, oh, he is here tonight. He put this letter in case he couldn't get here. He lives across the street and stares at this property for the last 9 years. It's been vacant for quite a few years and is. A year, okay. Okay, thank you. But anyway, you can see he supports what we're doing here. That's Bobby's house. We did a little traffic impact analysis for 4 houses that shows the number of trips in and out during peak hours. So that's just for you to look at and study. And we wanted to make sure everybody's aware of these future road projects. Over there on 2026 is we're going through Walden, what's that one called?
Farrelltown Parkway.
Farrelltown Parkway connection. Up there at 2028, that's the Stumptown Road connection that is planned to be done then. Down further in 2026, that's where Vermillion Village, we're redirecting Church Street through Vermillion Village. And in 2029, the plan is, I believe the town's already acquired the Gap property, maybe not, but in 2029, it's to extend Walter Street directly into Vermillion Village, providing quite a few new connections for east-west travel. And we just found out tonight about the potential project at Glendale that is just in the discussion stages. So we're going to work with Stephen Trott to make sure we reserve whatever right-of-way is needed, whether it might be a roundabout or a traffic light. That shouldn't be an issue. Our houses will be set back far enough that we should be able to provide whatever right-of-way the town needs and do that at this time. And I think that's it. Brookline Homes has been building in Vermillion for quite a few years. They put some elevations up here. They're still working. They plan to build 2-story houses, but you can see their houses made a distinct improvement to Mill Village on the 7 on the hill that looked down on the front of Vermillion, which kind of spearheaded the beginning of the change in the Mill Village. They're also building townhomes for us, and they have numerous houses throughout Vermillion, which has passed our architectural guidelines. So we feel, as I said, they plan to build 2-story homes. Typical features, James Hardie siding, front porches, stone accents, and they use modern craftsman-inspired architecture. So we feel very comfortable that we'll be able to meet the town standards. That's just a couple examples, but these are not the exact houses. These are 4 different looks we've been working on the driveways. This one doesn't show shared driveway. Go ahead to the next one. Here's one that shows the shared driveway, and here's kind of a third version. So we really need to work with the builder on figuring out where their houses are going to sit and how they want these driveways to enter the garages. There may be a side load, it may be all front load, but that's what we're working on right now. And that's all I have.
Any questions for the applicant?
If we could go back to the previous slide. You said that there will be different, I guess, structures of your homes, or do you know specifically, like, what your homes will look like? And I guess I'm just asking in regards to 4 homes on this one lot seems to be a bit much.
Well,
Why?
if you look across the street, the lots in Vermillion, this will be part of Vermillion, and the lots are much smaller across the street, and they all have front porches. So this is going to be part of Vermillion, and it fits into the scheme of what Vermillion has been for the last 25 years.
But you also spoke on, you stated that, I guess they have different architectural designs. Do you know specifically what those designs?
Not yet.
Not
No,
yet.
they're
Okay.
designing specific houses for this
For this,
property.
okay.
And they can't, that just doesn't happen in a few weeks. It usually takes them a couple months.
Okay,
But we'll have them before we're done.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner Walsh?
Yeah, it's probably less of a question than a comment. I'm glad you addressed the 3 things in the staff report, just to encourage you to continue to work with them to resolve them.
Okay?
This is.
No,
probably
ma'am. People in the gallery did not address the board or the applicant. You can email us separately. Thank you.
Probably a silly question, but I'm assuming there's no alleyway behind these?
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm sorry, I did have one more question. In looking at the staff report, when there was the neighborhood meeting, did the property owner ever get his issue addressed with the property lines? Because I know it was stated that,
I met Mr. Newer out on the property. We found the iron in the front underneath one of his evergreens.
okay,
And he showed us how the trunks are on his property, but the vegetation is growing onto our property.
Okay.
But we don't expect to, we're going to try to leave as much buffer of the natural vegetation around. Obviously, we're not going to touch his.
okay.
He's concerned about the setback. And again, we need the house plan, and then we'll show him exactly where the house will be sited.
Thank you.
I heard you say 4 houses. Is there any way you would do 3?
At this point, no. I mean, the property owner, it's a situation, she's 86, and she asked a lot for the money, for the property, and it's just a continuing part of our company's revitalization of parts of the east side of town, which we've been doing for 25 years. So this isn't a giant moneymaker, it's a kind of a cleanup project and continue to make this side of town look much better than it did 25 years ago with trailers and landfill and sewer plant. Everybody's seen my little sideshow, I believe.
Understood, okay. And then Commissioner Rivers already touched on this, but, you know, I live over in that area. There's roughly 4 different housing types, like right there. And so I'm super curious, excuse me, which type of house you're going to put there. Is it going to be more like that first picture, where it's just like that very kind of modest-looking 1-story, but you wrote 2 stories on there, but the example you showed is the 1-story?
Again, they don't have the plans yet, but they've been building this craftsman-style look, whether it's a rear load or front load. These, of course, will be front load. But, you know, the porch is what we were trying to show. The materials, the hardy plank, you know, we estimate the homes to be somewhere between 500,000 to 600,000.
Okay. And like square footage, can you estimate that,
I
or
would say probably 2,500
under, okay,
is a plus or minus,
okay.
Up to 3,000?
maybe up to 3,000. Again, they're working on them.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, we have a handful of public comments that we need to get to. We'll start with Patricia Fogarty. You have 3 minutes. While our public comments are going on, if the residents in attendance could just keep their side conversations to a minimum, that'd be great so that we can hear the comments. Thank you.
I want to thank Commissioner Rivers for making the comment about 4 buildings, 4 houses being a bit much. I am a new person in town. I've been here since 2023, and I live on Cumberland Crest Drive. And on the other side of my backyard is the property in question. I'm 78 years old, and I see trees that are older than I am. And the canopy is wonderful, the property is beautiful, and if you put 4 houses on there, you can't convince me that a lot of trees won't bite the dust. And I think we all know that trees help keep things cool. I had a home on Lookout Mountain in Georgia up until 2023, and I had a yard full of hickories, and it was wonderful to be able to have the shade that kept things cooler. Now, if a lot of those trees come down, yes, it will affect me. It'll make my energy bills go higher because of the shade will disappear. But the thing I think that worries me the most is the future of the people that are going to live there. When I first came to this area, one of the things that really bothered me was how close all of the buildings are built to each other. Now on Cumberland Crest Drive, that is not the case. Those houses were built back in the 1990s, and they put a little more space in between the houses. And I just don't get it. I was talking about this to my son-in-law, and he says, well, that's business. Well, I think the term business is glossing over what it really is. Greed. I think that if you want to take that property, that beautiful piece of property, and leave some of the trees and maybe put up 2 houses, then the property value will go up. You put on 4 houses, and I just can't see it. I'm sorry. I guess I'm a country girl, and I'm proud of it, and I've had a good life, and I just don't see how anybody would be happy living in those close quarters. And one of the things I noticed when I was reading this is that they were talking about how nature is good for us. People that get out in nature have less depression. Children have less attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And, you know, of course we can get out and walk the greenways, but why do we have to go that far? Why can't we just have it in our own yard? Now, I don't know what you're all intending to do with that property, whether you're going to rent it, whether you're going to sell it. But my point is, I hate to see those trees go. They've been here longer than any of us.
Ma'am, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the right thing.
Next, we have Lou Solette. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Lou Solot, and I live at 201 Quail Crossing in Hunters Ridge, which is adjacent to this property, unlike Vermillion, which is across the road. I want to begin by saying that my family and I are not opposed to growth. Huntersville is growing, and overall that growth has made this a stronger, more vibrant community. We understand that development is part of progress. However, what's being proposed here is not simply growth. It's a change in density that is inconsistent with the established character and long-standing restrictions of our immediate area. Hunters Ridge is a small, non-HOA neighborhood of about a dozen homes that has remained intentionally low density for many years. When our homes were developed, subdivision beyond a certain density was not permitted. In fact, my own property includes nearly an acre of wooded land that I am legally prohibited from subdividing due to restrictive covenants tied to density restrictions. We've respected those restrictions. We've maintained that character, and we've relied on those limitations as part of what defines this neighborhood. I understand that this parcel falls within the town core character area of the 2040 community plan. But even within broader character areas, there are established residential pockets with long-standing development patterns. Hunters Ridge is one of those pockets. The question before you tonight is not whether density is appropriate somewhere within the town core, but whether it is appropriate at this specific location, given the existing development pattern and the density restrictions that continue to govern the surrounding properties. Allowing 4 homes on this parcel introduces a level of density that is currently not allowed for adjacent properties, including my own. That creates inconsistency and raises legitimate concerns about fairness and planning integrity. If this rezoning is approved, the developer will complete the project and move on. The board will continue making future decisions, but the residents of this neighborhood will live with the effects of this increased density permanently. That permanence makes this decision especially important to get right. This is not just about one parcel. It establishes precedent for future decisions affecting similar neighborhoods throughout Huntersville. I respectfully ask that you vote to deny this rezoning request and preserve the established development pattern of our neighborhood. Thank you for your time and service to our community.
Thank you, sir. Peter Newer, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Peter Newer. I live adjacent to the property that is proposed to be developed. My property abuts it. I've never been to a meeting like this before. I never had the occasion to do something like this. So in order to speak properly, I have done a little bit of homework. I'm not a lawyer, but I've went and got some information that comes from a law firm that does business here in North Carolina. And I came upon something called spot zoning. I'd never heard of this before, and probably nobody else in this room has heard of it either. But I'm going to read to you what it says about spot zoning, and you folks can determine whether or not it applies to this property. I think it does. Spot zoning occurs when the ordinance or zoning variance singles out and reclassifies a relatively small tract of land. This property is just a hair over 1 acre, so it's very small. All the properties, all the houses that are within this development currently are sitting on a 1/2 acre to 3/4 of an acre. One of the properties is about 1 acre. Mine is 7/10 of an acre. Okay, the second thing is the interference with neighboring landowners' expectations with respect to land use, aesthetics, and the like. The third thing that it says about spot zoning is the appearance of favoritism towards the landowner awarded the special spot zoning designation. The fourth item is the precedents set for others whom might want to seek favorable spot zoning designation. In other words, if this is allowed, there's nothing to prevent other pieces of property within our development to be rezoned and put up whatever the zoning requirements they meet and decide they're allowed to have. So we could have apartment buildings, we could have townhouses. It's whatever they decide they would be appropriate. I don't think this is right. When I built my house 9 years ago, I built it in this community because I liked the way it looked. I liked the large pieces of land. I liked the separation between the houses. I do want to address one other thing that's been brought up before. The corner that they show on the property to be developed, comes off of Huntersville Concord
Mr.
Road.
Newer, your time is up.
Come around that corner at high speed.
Sir.
I think it'll be dangerous.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Ingrid Hooks, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Ingrid Hooks, and I live in Hunters Ridge with my family for the past 18 years. I'm here to respectfully ask you to deny this rezoning request. Zoning laws exist to treat property owners fairly and to guide development in a way that protects the integrity of established neighborhoods. They are meant to provide consistency, safety, and thoughtful planning. This rezoning request does not fully align with the spirit or intent of the 2040 plan, especially when it comes to respecting the character of the existing communities. Those of us who chose Hunters Ridge did so for a very specific reason. We wanted tree-lined streets, space, and a neighborhood that felt safe and welcoming. Every home here sits roughly on an acre of land. That was intentional. It was thoughtfully designed community that is increasingly rare today. This is what we bought into when we chose our homes. Please don't take that away from us. When we first moved in, Hunters Ridge was a quiet dead-end road that few people even knew existed, a real hidden gem. Over time, it has become a cut-through for traffic, speeding, litter, and a host of bad behavior that concerns residents. I once asked a driver to please slow down. There were kids playing in the neighborhood. She got out of her truck and threatened to shoot me. Yeah, that actually happened. Change has certainly come to our doorstep. Rezoning the front of our neighborhood to add 4 additional homes may seem minor on paper, but in reality, it alters the look and feel of Hunters Ridge in a significant way. It changes the entrance, the aesthetics, and the overall character that we have worked hard to preserve. We appreciate the 2040 plan and the vision of a walkable community, a much-needed highlight. Sadly, we were told there'll be no sidewalks added on the proposed subdivision, which is desperately needed if we want our families to be able to walk to downtown. There are no plans for beautification support and no plans to reduce the burden on the current residents who already pick up the litter, trim the trees, and maintain the entrance to our neighborhood at our own expense. Without those commitments, this vision feels incomplete. We've also heard the term feathering out, but we have to ask, is that truly what this town wants, or is it simply a phrase used to justify this particular project? Finally, there is the issue of traffic. Glendale Road is already overwhelmed during peak hours. With the large complex nearing completion next door, we still do not know the full traffic impact. Adding more homes at the entrance of Hunters Ridge only increases that strain, with no clear solution in place. It's already dangerous to turn into the existing residents on Glendale. Adding more driveways on the other side of the street is practically begging for accidents. Council members, Hunters Ridge is not just a parcel on a map. It is our home. It represents years of investment, care, and community. I respectfully ask you help us preserve this character, safety, and peace of our neighborhood by denying this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public comments for that public hearing. We're on to item 9B, which is conduct a public hearing on petition R25-14. Do we have a motion? Well, actually, I'll let you say it.
Yeah, good evening. The applicant and staff both recommend this be deferred to the April 21st meeting.
So may I have a motion to defer item 9B to April 21st?
I would like to make the motion that we defer item 9B, R25-14-in food stores to rezone 2.67 acres to April 21st at 6:00 p.m. at our town hall.
And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 9C, conduct a public hearing on petition R26-02, a request by HFH Partners LLC to rezone.
We'll enjoy the quick slideshow. There we go. All righty. Good evening. Brian Richards for the staff. At this time, I'd like to enter my staff report to the record. As mentioned earlier by some of the attendees, this is for a general rezoning. This is R2602 for 121 Gilead Road. See if the applicants are here. Oh, there he is. Sorry. Brief background. Back in 2024, this parcel was originally part of another general rezoning. Through that process, they withdrew themselves from that. Of course, they're back here tonight to ask for that same request. You can see the site here along Gilead Road at the corner of Gilead and Hillcrest. Again, here's the makeup of the corridor currently from the west moving to the east. You can see a lot of mixed use and office spaces, renovated homes, those types of things. Highlighted there in red is the office in question tonight. Next door is a residential home that's being renovated. Excuse me, the next parcel to the east is Zone Town Center, that's commercial. We're working with the property owner on an application shortly to get that done, as well as I've got a meeting coming up with the adjacent property to the west of that as well. Catty corner to the northeast is the North State project that was recently approved. Across the street, we've got the school. Properties are located in the town core and our mixed-use center. We're very familiar with the descriptions as to the intended uses in there. Some of those include office and retail, as well as mixing of residential. When you dive down a little bit more into the town 2040 community plan, we've gone for the tiered approach, having most of the intensification around the Huntersville Concord Roads, Gilead Road, as well as the Old Statesville Road intersection. And as you feather away, you drop that down in intensity. We're located in the tier 2, which is predominantly residential with some small scale commercial and office. Currently, the structure is being used as an office. Again, other things we look at is the downtown plan. We look at gathering areas and different types of things that were highlighted in that report. This is consistent. The request is consistent with the requirements of the 2040 community plan. These are the 6 things that are highlighted here. We'll go through them all. Last time some folks asked about the criteria. These are the criteria that we look at when we do a general rezoning. Very similar to the same things we do with the conditional rezoning. Staff is in this position to recommend approval of this general rezoning, as it is consistent with the envisioning statements of the 2040 community plan, as well as the downtown plan. And I am here if you guys have any questions, and the applicant is here to answer questions as well.
Any questions? Yep.
Can you tell us about the historical designation and how that impacts the property?
Sure. Mr. Hines can speak to the specifications, but that was deemed historic in 2022. You want to go into some of the details as to which parts of the structure are deemed historic?
Thank you. Great to see you all here in this nice, great ballroom. Y'all don't sit quite as close as I used to in the old town hall. So thank you again for doing what you do. So the designation, so we got the exterior of the house designated, as well as the interior staircase of the home. So as some of you know, you've been to our office. I mean, we have 8 large rooms and a kitchen in the back. So the designation by Mecklenburg County, as well as the town of Huntersville, approved recognizing that as a historic house, because it was Leggett Blythe's old home place. That was his childhood home. Whatever we do to that house, we have to first of all go to the Landmarks Commission for any modifications to that house. So we can't do anything to the exterior without their approval. They won't allow us to do anything in the front, probably over the sides, maybe in the back if we were to add like a commercial kitchen one day, or expand our small kitchen now into a commercial kitchen. So we're very limited in what we can do because we designated it, because one of the reasons we designated it, because we knew it was a historical piece of history in our town, and we just love the location of it. So the historic designation was a big part for us to give back to the town in kind of a way. So.
Yeah. Okay, so just to make sure I understand, if you were to put in a commercial kitchen, you'd have to get approval from the historic
That's correct.
to do it? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, understood.
If we wanted to add anything to the house, so if we wanted to add another
Right.
square footage, things like that, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, this question came up before, just wondering, why are you doing this now?
I think what we've tried to do as an ownership group is be proactive and, kind of we have the same vision that the town has with the 2040 plan as well as the downtown plan. And the last time we were attached to the rezoning, we didn't want to get involved in some of the division that was going on with those rezonings. I completely agree with Ms. Hallman. If this was a vacant piece of property and we were just going for a general rezoning that came before us one time when I served, I don't like that because it takes away all options, right, for the town. This is a little bit different. We have a house that's designated historic. We did voluntarily. There's a lot of hoops we have to jump through on that. We can do a lot of the things we want to do under the current zoning that we can do under TC. There's small nuances to that. Here's an example. We can put a restaurant in there now. Under neighborhood residential, which we're currently zoned, we can have a restaurant in there because it's a commercial use within a quarter mile of town center. So we fall within that zoning, or that district. If we want to do let's say somebody comes into us, and this is the proactive part. So if a restaurant comes in and says, we want to have some outdoor seating area in the grass area. Well, technically under the NR zoning, we're not allowed to do that. Now, we can do it on our front porch, but if somebody walks out onto the sidewalk or further out, we're not technically allowed to do that. Under the TC, we are allowed to do that. So one of the things that, again, the ownership group looks at is we would much rather be proactive, because if we had to come back to the board, let's say we had a hot prospect, it would take us 6 months to be able to allow them to do that because we have to come in for a rezoning. So we're just being proactive. That's all we're doing.
Okay, thank you. And then a question for Brian, although you could probably answer this too, but we have obviously ordinances downtown for lighting and
Yes.
noise, et cetera. Can you just
Correct.
refresh?
Sure. All properties, irregardless of the zoning designation, are subject to the town's lighting ordinance, which means we've allowed downlighting only. And there's limited light trespass that's allowed across properties. Of course, all properties in town are subject to the town's noise ordinance, which is enforced by the police department.
Thanks.
Sure.
So I'm looking at your property on Google Maps right now. So I believe behind the house there, that parking is yours. So if you did have, you'd have adequate parking to put in, a restaurant.
I don't know if I call 17 spots adequate parking, depending on the use. Right, yes. But we do own that parking lot, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? This location of this house and its historic designation, does it limit what could go there? So if we rezone this and the other choices came available, are there any things that we prohibited just due to the sheer size of the lot and the location and the road?
Sure. I think, as Mr. Hines pointed out, you would have restrictions due to the limited parking that was there. Town center does allow a little bit more commercial uses than the neighborhood residential. Like I said, restaurant's probably the most likely use that's going to go in there. But in my professional opinion, it's not a great change. As Mr. Hines pointed out, the largest is the ability to utilize the front areas off the porch that is restricted with the neighborhood residential use, to have some seating or dining out front.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So I know Holman's are right next door. What impact would this have, any negative impact to their property? I mean, is there buffer impacts? Is there, what?
No, there are no buffer impacts. We'd still have the same buffers. As a matter of fact, there's actually a little bit more restrictive buffer in town center than you would have in neighborhood residential.
Okay. Are there any other negative impacts that could impact them by doing this?
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It falls in line with the plan. I mean, that's why when they came back, a few years ago and asked for that, staff was in support of it. We're in support of it today. If the Holmans were to come in and ask for a general rezoning for their property, we would be in support of that as well.
Any other questions? We don't have any public comments, so if we have no more questions, we've concluded.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now on to item 10A, on other business. Consider amending the town's public comment policy, goodness gracious, public comment and public hearing policy. Ms. Sloop?
Yes, good evening. You can move it to the next slide. So yes, the town board had directed several months ago legal staff to put together an amendment to a specific portion of the public comment and public hearing policy. However, in the interim, before the board voted on that amendment, there was a North Carolina Court of Appeals case that came out. And so at the time, the board decided that we would steer legal staff into looking at whether or not other additional changes needed to be made to the policy. And at that time, I took it upon myself to not only look at that case and determine whether or not additional changes needed to be made, but we also looked at policies across the state of North Carolina and wanted to really hone in on what our best practices for these types of policies. So the changes that you see, and I will preface by saying that there is a lot of red line. However, some of that red line, they are not substantive in nature. It's merely moving items to different sections of the policy and adding basically headers so that the policy is easier for the reader to follow and more cohesive. But on this slide, you'll see what some of the most, I guess, substantive changes to the policy are. The first would be to reflect that the allocated time for our public comments and public hearings will be 1 hour. And that can be changed at the mayor's discretion or the mayor pro tem when acting in the mayor's absence. And essentially, that is to prohibit something that had occurred recently in another jurisdiction where 71 speakers had signed up to speak and the meeting extended through almost 4 a.m. in the morning because there was no time limit. So this change is due to a best practice policy that we found in pretty much every other jurisdiction that we looked at. Secondly, we updated the policy related to spokespersons. Currently, our policy allows for 9 minutes to be yielded. However, when we add a cap of 1 hour, that would really limit the number of speakers that could speak if someone were to speak for 9 minutes at a time, or more than one person spoke for 9 minutes. That would really eat into the 1 hour. So the board has opted to essentially cap the spokesperson to 6 minutes now, and that will be for representation of persons of 3 or more in a group. Thirdly, we also wanted to clarify the process for declaring a speaker out of basically someone who is not following our policy. We wanted to clarify that process for when we declare them out of order, whether they be speaking or also if they are in the audience. And that change is very specific to the need to meet the standards in that Court of Appeals case that I was referencing. We need to make sure that they are found to be causing a disruption to the meeting before we ask them to come in line with the policy and before we ask them to leave the meeting. So that change is specific to that case that came out. We also added a reference to the criminal penalty for disruption of an official meeting. Many people don't know it, but if you do disturb an official meeting or disrupt it, you can be charged with a misdemeanor. So that language is added to the policy so that people are aware of it, and also it serves as a deterrent for persons to disrupt the meeting. We also specified and reiterated the rules of decorum that are used to prevent these types of disruptions to meetings. We did rearrange sections and wording to achieve a better flow, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation. And also we clarified our statutory authority for the policy, which is in Chapter 160A of the North Carolina General Statutes. I'm happy to answer any questions if the board has any.
Board, does anyone have any questions?
I just have one. I know, we had a special instance where, Josh Dumas came in and spoke for Amanda for her farewell speech. It was kind of a very unique instance. The mayor still has the ability to allow them to, speak a little longer than 6 minutes. It was a very special type thing.
So that would be more along the lines of a person that was invited to speak because he was speaking on behalf of a commissioner that was not able to give her farewell remarks. So in our policy, we do have exceptions for when someone is specifically invited by the board to give a presentation, so they can have longer in the mayor's discretion.
Any other questions? There have been times when we've had a speaker here who had 3 or 6 minutes, and maybe they went to 6.5 minutes, and I let them finish their thought. And that's, something common, especially if the person is impassioned or mid-thought, or maybe they're here for a unique situation that is an exception to what we normally experience. I do let them have, a little bit of discretion in that regard, if needed.
Attorney Sloop, is there anything specific regarding our town board responding to public comments? Was there something updated or documented?
Sure. So, no, actually, that's been in the policy for a while now, that the public should not expect board members to respond directly to them. And the reason for that is that if they responded to every single person, we would never finish the public comment period, and our meeting would not stay on track and follow the agenda and serve as an efficient, effective meeting. Another reason that we basically don't want to back and forth is because if it escalates into, a hostile situation, someone may feel obligated to defend themselves, and that too can create a disruption to the meeting. So it's really more for an informational, an information sharing, not really a discourse.
Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion for item 10A?
I make a motion to amend the town's public comment and public hearing policy.
A second.
Any discussion? I just want to thank our attorney for all the work on this. This was a lot of work to suss out the details of the court case that came down right in the middle of when we were planning on changing this. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. We're on to item number 11, closing comments. Commissioner Coronet, do you have any closing comments?
I know there was, Heather Smallwood also asked me to say this as well. I know there was a lot of back and forth with the board on the stacking the minutes and how we're going to do everything. So I just want to appreciate everybody, kind of negotiating, coming together and working together on it. So appreciate you guys.
Commissioner Walsh,
Not for me.
Commissioner Rivers, Mayor Pro Tem Hunt. I just want to give a little early shout out to our Mayor Pro Tem Hunt. Her birthday is coming up on March 5th. Want to give her a happy birthday in advance of that happening. And hope everyone had an opportunity to vote today. And if not, make a plan for November. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you.